What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Yeah. Well, yeah, Russia has a new TV show, and it's not about cooking, singing, or dating scandals. No. Channel 1 decided to play psychiatrist, priest, and employment agency all at once. The show is called Budem Zhit. Let's live. And it's pretend to explore the struggles of soldiers returning from Ukraine, their pain, their employment, or unemployment mostly, and their just a journey back to society in general. At first glance, it looks like the regime is finally brave enough to talk about the wreckage its war has left behind. Except, it's not bravery, it's manipulation. It is a hidden recruitment campaign dressed as empathy. A neat little trick where propaganda takes the form of compassion, where war criminals masquerade as social workers, and only one from tens of thousands is paraded across every TV channel, telling every willing to sacrifice himself for Putin soldier that this is the future that awaits for you. Even better than Valhalla. The Russian one. The show carefully selects its heroes, young, articulate, photogenic, and most importantly suspiciously connected to the ruling party Russia United, Единая Россия. What a surprise. But anyways, they're packaged into bite-sized tales of hardship and redemption. We are told that, yes, life is tough for veterans, but look, they get support, they get jobs, they get grants, they get applause even. Conveniently missing the hundreds of thousands of nameless men rotting in trenches or limping home with no legs, no pension, and no way out. Those stories do not sell army contracts. Those stories terrify. And terror does not bring in fresh records. So today, let's dive into the anatomy of this grotesque theater. We will peel back the lies of Budem Zhit's TV show, look at how the Kremlin handpicks its poster boys, expose how the show reframes horror and opportunity, and finally, confront the brutal reality. Russia has abandoned its soldiers. It promised them glory, but delivered only trauma and social exile. And this only is what 99.99% of these men can expect. Not Valhalla, not a handshake from Putin, not even discounted vodka because of your Liberation of Bakhmut medal. Take Timur Gromov, for example, the most recent hero of Russia as of month of August 2025. Channel 1 presents him as the ordinary soldier, wounded in Ukraine, struggling to adapt, all this kind of stuff. He used to have a business even, went off to a war, got injured, and is now fighting to make a living as a delivery guy. A tragedy softened by resilience, I guess, right? Wrong. Gromov was not just some guy. He was already an official tied to United Russia Party. He ran party branches, worked in Moscow firms, and had the right phone number saved in his contacts on speed dial. His medical care, his discharge, his TV slot, all of it owed to his loyalty to the party. And did he even fight in Ukraine? That is a very good question. Sure, he might have crossed the border and all, but knowing that politicians usually do not go further than shooting range in the closest to the Russian border Ukrainian city, the probability of him injuring himself just accidentally slipping off the stairs is, if you think about it, kinda high. And yet, viewers are spoon-fed the idea that Gromov represents the average veteran, that anyone injured will receive expert battlefield medicine, a golden hour evacuation, a polished hospital surgery, and then a fair discharge. Well, reality check. Thousands of maimed soldiers are begging for release, crawling through bureaucracy with shattered bones, mangled nerves and blindness. They are not patched up. They are redeployed. Sometimes half-healed, sometimes untreated at all, and then sent straight into these notorious meat assaults with pretty much 0% chance of survival because, well, no person, no questions, no responsibility. Unless, of course, they wear the badge of loyalty like Timur Gromov. This is the template that the Kremlin has been following for at least last 2 years. Bring in a not so randomly chosen veteran, parade him across all major TV networks, show that every soldier will have the same bright future, and then get a new veteran for the next month. This is why we call Timur Gromov the veteran of August 2025. If you keep changing them, if people hear a new name every month here and there, well, it might just actually even start feeling like most soldiers get this level of treatment. This honest show sprinkles real problems, job discrimination, physical pain, into a character so sanitized he could be literally a saint in Russia's military church. A man who struggles but ultimately triumphs thanks to the benevolence of the state. But the narrative is clear. If you join the army, suffer and survive, you will not be discarded. You will be cherished. Except that this is a lie wrapped in cinematic lightning with absolutely no happy ending. But how exactly does this very specific propaganda works? Let's see the answer in our next chapter. Budem Zhit TV show tries to sell compassion as state policy, but compassion here is a weapon. The camera lingers on tears or sympathetic employers, on communities rallying around their so-called hero. And this guy, Gromov, we are told, faced even rejection until a wise HR manager advised him to remove his war record from the resumes, and then he got a job almost immediately. Now he at least works delivery, and he still finds time to serve the public by touring schools and inspiring children. Channel 1 even hands him a grant to publish a book. This is where the applause, the swelling music, the close-up of his watery eyes is shown, and, well, you can imagine the picture. But this is not social reintegration, it is myth-making. The rare veteran who gets help is turned into a walking advertisement. Look, he fought, he bled, and now he thrives. You could too. Subject to 700 pages of terms and conditions, of course. The state uses this carefully engineered empathy to lure in the next batch of cannon fodder. It is recruitment through pity, manipulation, and sympathy. Meanwhile, actual veterans, real ones, not TV mannequins, face the opposite, completely the opposite reality. Employers see them as unstable, violent, and damaged. Wives leave them, friends avoid them. PTSD turns their nights into battlegrounds, sometimes not just nights. Because it is not rare to see a Z veteran shaming and belittling everyone around him, because he served, he fought, and he is the real deal. He's the tough guy, not a bunch of clowns who hid behind their mothers' backs, waiting for the real man to get the job done. And so no wonder that instead of applause they face suspicion and judgment. Instead of grants they get debt collectors. Channel 1 will never put those men on screen because their lives are the anti-advertisement. They prove that the system does not work. But even though there are thousands of bad examples for each one paraded veteran, and I'm sure most Russians do know a person who fought in Ukraine and was not shown on state TV, how is it possible that potential records think that they are magically going to end up these 0.01% of lucky ones? Let's see what makes them think that way in our next chapter. The structure of the show itself is a propaganda trick. Every episode follows a carefully curated script. Hardship, despair, and then redemption. Lieutenant Vladislav Kalugin, a young airborne officer, is wheeled on next. He too is wounded, discharged, and initially lost. But don't worry, the regime saves him. He goes back to a school, becomes a 3D designer, lands a lucrative job. I mean, the pain is real, the struggles are real, but the happy ending is guaranteed. Except happy endings do not exist for most veterans, vast majority of them. Contracts in Russia are not real contracts, they are open-ended shackles. Sign one and you belong to the state until death. Wounds do not free you, disabilities do not free you, even elections do not free you. Mobilized men who won political offices in their small towns and villages are still trapped in trenches. The only true expiration date is a wooden coffin. And yet, Channel 1 sells the opposite. Soldiers become success stories, each one a living slogan. Feed, fight, bleed, return, and then prosper. They show the compensation payments, these big millions of rubles numbers, the doctors, the supportive employers, everything. They hide the amputees, dumped back into villages without jobs though. They hide the widows who never see the promised money. They hide the veterans turned away by the landlords, banks, and schools. Because this is not truth, it's a bait and switch. They dangle hope in front of desperate men. They imply survival equals reward, but in reality, survival equals debt, trauma, and obscurity. That's assuming you even survive in the first place, which is a pretty complicated thing to do as well. The happy ending exists only in the studio under lights, before cameras. Outside, there is silence, vodka, and loneliness. And here is the most brutal truth. Putin's Russia has abandoned its soldiers, completely. The system needs them only alive enough to fight, lost so no compensation ever reaches the pockets of the relatives, and dead enough to be buried as martyrs. The space in between men who return broken but breathing is a liability. It is the exception from the rule, and they are tolerated for as long as they do not make a sound and they don't complain. They do not feed the narrative, they do not make good posters. They are walking reminders of a war that devours but never rewards. The promises were grand. Veterans were supposed to become the new elite. They were promised prestige, respect, even celebrity status. They were told they would be honored in schools, celebrated as patriots, given opportunities denied to regular civilians. What they actually get is suspicion, unemployment, and full trauma. They come home with medals no one respects and no one cares about, injuries no one wants to deal with, and memories that rot them from the inside. Society whispers, unstable, dangerous, angry. Employers blacklist them. Families crumble. Communities avoid them. Most of these men turn into shadows, haunted by PTSD, drowned in alcohol, alienated from a country they thought they served. The government shrugs. The society judges. And the very same state that once screamed heroes now mutters problems. The propaganda machine erases them, edits them out, replaces them with shiny human beings like this guy Timur Gromov and Kalugin we spoke previously. That is the cycle. Recruits are baited with lies, soldiers are consumed by the front lines, and the survivors are discarded like defective machinery, abandoned in a country where their only value is dying. And when they do, they are paraded for a day, buried under flags, and forgotten the very next morning. The Kremlin does not see veterans. It sees expendables. It sees tools. It sees disposable parts. Budem Zhit is not a TV show about veterans. It is a show about recruitment. It pretends to humanize, but its true purpose is to sanitize. It polishes one or two men into perfect tales of struggle and triumph, and then uses them to bait, to lure more. It suggests that veterans are cared for, that the state listens, that the war is survivable. But this is fantasy. The reality is completely the opposite. Putin's Russia has perfected the art of betrayal. It recruits with cash and promises. It consumes with brutality, and it abandons with indifference. It does not even need to hide it anymore. Shows like this do the hiding for them. They wrap abandonment in a smile, they dress trauma as opportunity, and they whisper to the next generation of desperate men, "Don't worry, brother. You are the one who will be fine." Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support our work and help us stay independent, there are links down below. For example, Patreon memberships. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We want to come to their tricks, the facade they try to sell, their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.